workshop kahapon, sino po kaya ang pwedeng magbahagi ngayong umaga? Pagka wala daw po, kami na daw po ang magtuturo. Sino daw po ang... Ito si Sir, kasama natin siya kahapon.
Parang walang pilitan pero walang tanggihan. Okay, good morning sa lahat. Nasa theater arts discipline po ako. Yung ginawa namin kahapon is nagkaroon lang ng refresher doon sa mga body exercises. Tapos, yung reading ng script at yung dynamic reading ng script. So, binigyan kami ng script na teroristang la bandera. Tapos, in groups, we read it. We had a dynamic reading. Nagkaroon ng emotion doon, characterization doon sa pagbasa lang mismo. So, wala mo ng acting. It's more on reading and body exercises. Magandang umaga.
Ayun, maraming pong salamat. Palakpakan naman po natin si Sir. So ngayon pong umaga, magbibigay sa atin ng isang makabuluhang talk ang isang arts manager graduate from AIM or Asian Institute for Management, and meron din po siyang graduate unit sa Columbia. Bukod sa pagiging head po namin sa Arts Education Department sa Cultural Center of the Philippines, sa mga panahon po na dapat ay nagpapahinga siya, ang kanya pong tinatrabaho ay ang pagiging commissioner ng UNESCO. So, wala pong iba kundi ang kasama natin, si Ms. Eva Marie Salvador, the Associate Artistic Director for Arts Education Department.
Sabi ko lang kasi kay Ian, para may kaya ko mag-lecture ngayon. Isa sa course na ituturo sa K-12 is called Leadership and Management. And in a way, I am fortunate, and hopefully you will also find yourselves fortunate that we are here to share that with you. Kasi ako po ang naatasan na mag-develop ng curriculum nito. Of course, hindi ko alam kung in the end, yun talaga yung magtutuloy. But so far, sa second reading, okay na siya. One reading na lang ang kailangan. No? So, marami nagtatanong, bakit kailangan natin ituro ang leadership and management sa sini? No? And for the past 10 years, the concept of arts management has really become more powerful, especially in the context of the creative industry. Mamaya ng konti, one of the leading advocates for the creative industries here, our former president and now board member sa CCP, Mr. Nestor Hardin. But before that, I'd like to just prepare you for certain concepts in management and leadership. No? So, if you just bear with me, please just focus on the pictures as you hear me explain this. This is actually published already by the former Dean of AIM, si Dean Ed Murato. When AIM offered arts management, we were the first few batches. No? Sa CCP, nirequire kami na mag-take nito, and I'm very happy that that was required because then it equipped us with the skills necessary to see the other side of the arts and the arts management side to help with the sustainability of our programs. Okay? So, ang book na ginawa ni Ed Murato is called The Universal Principles of Great Art and Their Applications to Leadership and Management. Ang sinasabi niya dito sa book, using photographs, if you look at art, the lessons in leadership and management is there. So, as I go through each one, please focus on the pictures and I'll read through the text that was made. Okay, unity. In great art, there is unity in the message conveyed and a wholeness in the impact created. The elements of the painting or musical piece converge in one inspiring piece. Photographs manifest this unity in the overall composition of the subject matter. The picture must compel the viewer to examine the whole portrait or scenery being shown. To attain this effect, the photographer makes sure that the viewer's eyes do not get fixated dead center by using such techniques as the rule of thirds, where the subject matter is placed off-center, somewhere 1/3 or 2/3 from any edge of the picture. The photograph likewise achieves unity by presenting a coherent theme found either in the subject matter itself or in the attributes of the subject matter such as texture, color, patterns, contrast, and even emotion. Unity can be attained by presenting an aesthetic arrangement of the subject matter that flows fluidly from left to right, top to bottom, and round the picture. Good leaders and managers should pursue this unity principle in their organization or enterprises. They should maintain unity of purpose, unity of command, and unity of action. Unity of purpose is sharing a common goal. Unity of command means that the leader has the full support of his organization. Unity of action means all units of the organization are moving together to create a sum much greater than the parts. Every member of the corporation team must know his or her precise role and contribute fully to the unified vision and mission. Factionalism should be eradicated, and in its place must stand one unified body. Okay. So the next is harmony. Closely linked to unity is the principle of harmony, for it is hard to achieve the former without the latter. Harmony, however, brings the additional dimension of mutual reinforcement among the various elements of the artwork. There is no jarring piece or discordant note. There is a pleasant gelling of the art elements which sing out in chorus because they are meant to be together. Harmony is synchronized flow. Photographers deploy techniques like pattern formation and symmetry, where the repetition of objects, lines, shapes, and people produce visual fluidity. Harmony is also depicted by making the elements of the photograph interact congenially with one another. The photograph establishes rapport between and among individual elements by showing how they are really part of the same message. Leaders and managers need harmonious organizations, partnerships, and relationships. They achieve this by making sure that there is a perfect fit among the company's objectives, strategies, programs, trust, people, and systems. One must not undermine the other, but rather amplify it. Since harmony is synchronized flow, leaders and managers must nurture a common culture or a shared way of doing things and establish cross-functional teamwork among the different units under them. Good vertical and lateral communications is vital for organizational harmony. Will. The great artist demonstrates supreme will in his work. He says, "This is I," while inviting the rest of the world to identify with that I. The great artist has a grand design, a big dream to achieve, a deep understanding of man and the whole world he lives on. The photograph illustrates will through the power of a dominant theme. The photographer who masters speed and aperture settings is able to freeze the subject matter or blur it He can also create tremendous depth of field or sharpen a solidarity figure against a hazy background and foreground. In here, the photographer deliberately wills a desired effect. Leaders and managers must know their precise bottom line. Their plans should spell out the desired outcomes in terms of measurable performance indicators which everybody can understand, relate to, and accomplish. These performance indicators or measures must be intimately linked to concrete rewards and recognition. Real means that the vision and mission of the organization are brought all the way down to the little activities and tasks that groups and individuals perform. Real means that resources are allocated in strategies that directly address the achievement of the organization's desired outcomes. Strength. Strength is the courage to express one's ingenuity and talent. Art with strength is both daring and virtuous. It is not ashamed to shout and deafen. Strength is pride glowing through the masterpiece of the artist. It personifies the ego and therefore individuates the artwork from all others. The photographer exhibits strength through the boldness of the subject matter. The photographer presents an exclamation point in the picture. Sometimes this is achieved by juxtaposing elements in the photograph which shock and discombobulate. But while doing so, the shocking subject matter does not disintegrate into a repulsive or disjointed picture. The shock elicited is temporary because the picture eventually becomes a revelation of an incisive message. Strength in photography is mastery of camera techniques as applied to powerful themes. In the photograph, this is quite evident in the artist's ability to tame light and weave calibrated lines in his pictorial tapestry in order to illustrate great character in a portrait or dazzling drama in a landscape. The leader or manager, as the pillar of strength, is the role model who must live out the values and virtues of the organization. He speaks for and in behalf of his people. He chooses his captains and lieutenants well. The leader inspires his troops with decisive but well-calculated moves. Strength in an organization means having a high level of skills and competency to excel in a competitive world and win convincingly. This means training and good regimentation. Strength likewise means raising organization standards through the build-up of distinct advantages. The strong leader builds personal charisma. He adeptly deploys symbols and rituals to create compelling myths and ardent fellowships. He optimizes the use of resources by investing them in the few things that will make a difference. Intuition. The greatest of all art shines with sheer intuition, a true knowing without the need for tedious technical processes. Intuition captures the essence of humanity by rendering on canvas or on stone the magnificence of our divine nature. The intuitive artist proceeds and builds from the past, glides over the present, and provokes into the future. He is born before his time. He allows the here and now to get a glimpse of tomorrow. He creates, he innovates, he evangelizes. The photographer serendipitously encounters artistic insights by constantly changing their perspective on a subject matter. They take it from above, from below, from all sides and angles, with all types of lenses and filters. Photographers practice intuition by continually experimenting and experiencing. Then they step back to reflect. They reflect on their creation only to do more experimentation and savor more experiences. The intuitive photographer is driven to take 1,000 shots to get the right one. In fact, he does not get the right one, it gets seen. It just shoots. The leader is a magical innovator. Even before his present ventures reach their peak, he is already on his next project. He is constantly seeking new approaches to old problems and converting present problems into excellent opportunities. The intuitive leader endeavors to continuously make himself and the organization obsolete in order to force a new beginning. Novelty is encouraged, and novelty that works is rewarded. Balance and contrast. All life and great art are both manifestations of balance and contrast. In Eastern philosophy, this is yin and yang, the female and the male principle. Everywhere we see opposites that are at one level contrasts, but at another level balancing forces which counterpoint one another. One cannot exist without its reversed reflection. There is darkness and light, truth and falsehood, good and bad, up and down, left and right. These opposites dance like a pair of quarreling lovers. The photographer revels in the use of balance and contrast. His most versatile tool is light and shadow, the contrast of black and white. He sachets the grays in between to highlight the difference. The photographer balances the composition by deliberately off-balancing it. He contrasts shapes, textures, moods, and colors. The desired effect is natural asymmetry, which blends rather than distracts, like a Zen garden. The leader or manager needs both yin and yang in the workplace. There is task versus people, substance versus process, pressure versus nurture, strict versus tolerant, directional versus empowering, precise versus ambiguous, authoritative versus participatory, logical versus creative, and so forth. There is indeed a time and reason for everything depending on the situation, the competency level of the people, and the resources of the organization. The leader must be flexible, versatile, and malleable. Simplicity and purity. Less is more. That is the classic formula for timeless art. The more an artist complicates and clutters his art, the more confusing and incomprehensible it becomes. Simplicity and purity in art provide visual clarity and elegance. They strip art to its very core. The message given is clear, the emotion evoked is raw. The thought aroused is clean. The photographer isolates a vignette from life by focusing the camera's eye on one central figure. The background is stark and bare. The elements of the photograph are few and spaced out. Monochromes and monolapses and monoshapes are preferred. Lines are minimized. Texture is consistent. The impact on the viewer is tranquility, peace, and contemplation. The leader or manager must have a good grasp of the logic of his business and the industry it is in. He must be able to pinpoint the few critical variables that most determine success or failure. From this, he is able to craft a singular strategy that will make all the difference. Structures must be simple, systems straightforward, signals clear. The leader who is simple and pure has no complex motives, just a desire to serve. Empathy and compassion. The artist who understands humanity and empathizes with the many moods and hurdles, the joy and pain of people, can express himself captivatingly. As he begins to have compassion and intimately identifies with his subject, he can render it in a very profound and deeply significant way. Empathy and compassion jump out of the artwork and capture the heart of the beholder, who then becomes one with the art. The photographer must be able to engage his viewer by choosing subjects with high human interest. He can win his audience by humor or horror, love or loneliness, a frown, a smile, a warm kiss, or painful grimace are good ingredients. Even inanimate objects can be humanized by the skillful interplay of visual images. The leader or manager learns early on in the game that people are his most valuable resource. His job is to motivate his entire team to reach their full potential. He must have high personal and social skills. This means that he must first have self-mastery to gain confidence in order to win the trust of his people. He must be able to inspire by understanding their needs, awakening their minds, and touching their hearts. Truth. Art is truth. It is true when it freely expresses the artist. It is true when the beholder resonates with the art in a personally meaningful way. It does not cheat by relying on mere technique. It does not copy nor reproduce truth of others. Truth is being faithful to oneself and being one with the one. Truth is original creation. The photographer as artist does not contrive nor artificially concoct his art. He captures the truth by allowing his subject matter to project itself. He coaxes rather than dictates. He cajoles rather than interferes. He is not a blind imitator. He shoots with eyes that see beneath the obvious. The leader or manager who espouses truth is transparent in words and deeds. He is open to new ideas and freely shares his own. He accepts criticism to improve himself. He does not give false promises nor false praises. He deals openly, honestly, and selflessly. He follows a strict code of ethics and espouses high moral standards. Finally, universality. Great art appeals to a great number. It resonates with the many who find virtue and value in the art. It appeals to the sensitivities and the sensibilities of all humanity through all time. It knows no limits because it transcends the here and now and lives in the plane of the immoral. The consummate photographer knows the psyche of both his subject and his viewers. He can render the subject in such a manner that viewers discover a multiplicity of meanings. Each pondering of the photograph builds a new layer of insight. Mere photograph's imagery can never attain universality because this principle belongs solely to the soul, in touch with the universal soul. The great leader accomplishes great feats because his noble cause finds a multitude of followers. He can feel the cause of his organization. He can translate their aspirations into a grand vision. The great leader is the embodiment of his people. He personifies all that is good, true, and wonderful. He is, at once, the exemplary exception, but at the same time, the everyday man. So, as you can see, the applications of the art principles are being applied in management. So the question is, well, with this course that's going to be given, hindi ba masyado mabigat yan para sa mga students? Management, napapasok pa lang siya. Okay? There are two courses that deal closely with this. One is entrepreneurship, which is given in the general arts track. No? But in the arts plan, the specific course is leadership and management. Kinausap ko na yung doon sa entrepreneurship level. Ang distinction ng dalawa, entrepreneurship deals with making money. So tatalon siya sa making money. But bago siya mag-isip ng paraan, bago siya kumita, kailangan matuto muna siya mag-appreciate ng organization niya, i-manage niya ang kanyang production or project. At higit sa lahat, i-manage niya ang kanyang sarili. Kanina, one of the words given in the talk was the term self-mastery. This is true also for us, for you as teachers, for us as cultural workers and arts managers. Before we go out managing and espousing this, we have to start with self-mastery with ourselves. So, the leadership and management, in that framework, the leadership and management curriculum is focused on two areas. One is on leadership skills. In the leadership skills, we incorporate outcomes that result to focus on people skills and value skills. Discipline. Sa arts, malaking bagay ang discipline. Hindi tayo pwede pumunta sa isang session na late. Hindi tayo pwede pumunta na hindi handa. Lahat yan dapat na i-incorporate mo sa bata. And that doesn't require huge, you don't need extra units in any other courses. It's really just going back to the basics of developing our future arts managers who are in high school by going back to the basics. Nabanggit din kanina ang Code of Ethics. Okay? Sabi nga, ang joke na namin, gumagawa kami ng curriculum, sabi daw, pwede ba daw pag-attendin yung mga politiko namin sa course ko? Sabi ko, pwede, about ethics. Why? Production people, especially those who will be arts managers and especially production people, at one point in time will be handling money. Dapat, hindi ito a question of teaching them how to liquidate, how to account, how to budget. It is about realizing that the money is not yours. It is entrusted to you. Whether it is just to buy a piece of props, costume, or pay food, that part of the values there is, especially in arts, is using that money and managing those funds wisely. The second component of leadership and management is focused already on the management skills. For the longest time, sabi nila ng artist hindi marunong mag-manage ng sarili nila. Okay. Hindi naman totoo yun. Marunong din. Hindi lang talaga yun ang pinaka-focus nila. So in any production, you have the producers and you have the arts managers and you have artists all working together towards great art. So in the arts management component, which is mostly in most of the areas of the curriculum, the focus is on production management, okay? Project management, organization focus, and then the creative industry focus. The creative industry focus is the context para makita ninyo na hindi lang ito dito sa probinsya ko na gagawin ko itong project na ito. Hindi. Yung ginagawa ninyo niya, may contribution po yan sa pangkalahatan sa ating bansa. The creative industry puts in about 8 to 9% of the gross national product. Kaya po sinasabi ng ating mga, may art na yan, art na yan. Hindi po may pera po sa art. And you'll hear that later from the next speaker. But in the meantime, just to give it over to the course, we want our kids to start appreciating and understanding these types of organizations or systems that exist in the art. Para hindi sila lumulutan, alam nila na ito yung mga to, kasi ito yung tutulong din sa kanila makahanap ng trabaho. Production assistants, entry-level positions, production assistants, coordinators, project assistants, and that can also go to other courses. Kung hindi sila sa arts, nabigyan sila ng background na magagamit din nila to apply in other courses. But ultimately, kung titingnan ninyo, ang best path nila, kung magiging arts manager sila, sila yung mga producers, sila yung mga heads, or heads ng mga grupo. For all we care, Ronnie, di ba? 10 years, 15 years from now, or 20 years from now, sa inyo magaling ang next president ng CCP. Diba? Arts manager, this is how we were looking at opening this movie. So the study areas in the leadership and management will cover basic management areas. Planning. Okay? Paano ba mag-plan? Kung PA ka, bakit nandun? Tinuturuan din natin ang mga bata nung paggawa ng assignment nila. Planning is doing assignments. Diba? The better you do your assignments, the sooner you do your assignments, it's preparing for your production, for your project. The next area has something to do with ongoing productions, which is the area of control. How do you control certain variables in ongoing productions, in an organization? Part of that will also be introduced to elements, basic elements of finance, okay? And elements of marketing, PR, para alam nila na merong ganito nangyayari. How do you monitor? And most importantly, how do you evaluate? Kinikwento ko nga kasi nung pinagawa sa akin yung curriculum, hindi naman ako expert sa curriculum, alam ko lang yung content. Nagulat si Yusek Ocampo kasi ang hinihingi lang pala 3 pages, ginawa ko 12 pages. Sabi, Eva naman, ginawa mo lang pati yung study guide. Sabi ko, wala, I just wanted to take out everything in my mind. Kaya sabi ko, well, hindi magagamit yung dictaphone, gano'n lang ako. Sabi, hindi, ilagay na natin, but we will help structuring better para hindi ma-overrun. So, in effect, napasok ko na yung mga ito. This is in your kit, by the way. And it is, we downloaded it from the DepEd curricula. Ang sinasabi ng curriculum office, they need one more parang meeting just to solidify things together with TESDA. Okay? So, anyway, it's just an overview that I'm presenting to you. I'm hoping that next meeting, next Thursday, we will sit down more closely and look at the specific guides. But I just wanted to introduce you with yung work ni Professor Edwin Morato to see the principles of great art as they apply to leadership and management. But next meeting, we will go over some of these areas for you to appreciate and at least have an idea how you're going to do it. Kasi hindi po totoo, hindi naman ako manager, hindi ko alam paano gawin yan. Hindi po, alam po ninyo, you know how you're going to do that. So next meeting po, kung pwede, please bring the curriculum guide in your kits if you have a chance to review that so that we can have an answer and question portion after that. No? I won't be able, we have a few minutes for question and answer if you wish, but then I cannot stay long because I have to rush back to Manila at itong 20 oro. Then, mabalik naman ako sa inyo bukas. Ano lang, jet setter lang. So, questions po? Lumipad ba?
Merong tanong po ba?
Wala pa?
Wala pa.
Okay, wala pa. So anyway, once you have read through the curriculum guide, maybe you'll be able to have questions formulated and we can discuss this further Thursday morning. Thank you po.
So, mukhang marami na kayong napalapakan po natin si Miss Eva Salvador. Relate na relate ako habang pinapakinggan siya kasi leadership and management po yung topic niya. Binabalikan ko yung naging buhay ko dito sa Philippine High School for the Arts kasi dito po sa Makiling, para aware din kayo, hindi lang tinuturuan dito yung mga estudyante na mag-choreograph, mag-paint, kumanta. Alam niyo po, pag nagre-recital kami dito, lahat ng aspeto ng production IT, kami ang nagpapatakbo. So, hindi ko po alam kung yun ay ginagawa niyo na sa mga SPA students ninyo, pero magmula sa yung mga binanggit ni Ms. Eva, yung pre-planning, yung budget, pag sinabi sa amin na ito yung available budget mo, ikaw ang gumawa ng budget proposal, ikaw ang mag-defend sa teacher mo kung paano gagamitin yon, pati yung costume design, poster design, kung ano-ano pa po. So yun po yung parang, kaya ang hirap ng buhay namin dito para lang maging aware din kayo. Kasi habang iniisip na namin yung artistic side, yung pag-choreograph, pagtuturo ng sayaw, yung aspeto po yung leadership and management ay itinuturo din po. So, ako ay naniniwala na hindi pwedeng ang artista ay sasabihin, hindi po ako marunong sa management kasi I'm an artist. Sorry to say, I do not believe that statement. Kasi hindi pwedeng ang artista ay sabog. Kung sabog kasi ang isang artista, sabog din ang kanyang produkto. Do you agree? So, yun po ang kailangan natin i-impart sa mga bata. That they should not only learn the skills, pero yung kabuuan po ng ano. So, mas palalamigin pa ni Miss Eva yung discussion sa leadership. Ibibigay ko po ngayon kay Ian. Miss Nico pala.
Good morning to everyone. What you heard this morning is an overview of several points na dapat in detail parang loosen up at mabigyan pa ng detalye sa kada module. So, if you notice, every morning, well, this morning meron tayong special session and perhaps tomorrow evening and until Thursday, meron tayong medyo overview, arching. Ang napansin ko nga kanina, it seems medyo, siguro hindi pa rin yung ating mga brains to ask questions. But I encourage you in the next session, this next plenary, sana meron tayong katanungan. Kasi sayang yung pagkakataon habang nandito yung ating mga experts. So anyway, for this special plenary, this morning, our speaker was parang ito ang naging artistic director. Inabutan ko na po itong artistic director at president ng Cultural Center of the Philippines. Nandiyan pa rin po ako sa Sentrong Kultura ng Pilipinas at naabutan ko rin po siya isang consultant ng aming complex development. At ang alam ko rin po, siya rin po ang consultant ng iba't ibang mga project development organizations. Hindi ko na po babanggitin yun. Mapalad din po kami sa sentro at bumalik po siya bilang miyembro ng Board of Trustees. Ang ating speaker po ngayon ay, ang ating speaker po ngayon ay pinapakilala ko po, ito na po siya dumarating si Mr. Nestor Covardi.
Salamat, Nico. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Sa aking pagkakaalam, kayo ay mga teachers ng Special Program for the Arts ng Cultural Center of the Philippines and DepEd. Nung president pa ako ng CCP, that's the time that kami nila Evas started out the arts education program of the CCP at dyan namin